All of you have heard me speak about all of these values at some point or another. This is going to be a brief and condensed overview of the key values. Something that I think is interesting about values is, to me, it's not something that we necessarily strive for. I think it already exists. Anybody who's here really has these characteristics in their personality. For example, like one of the values I think is a core value is having a sense of humor. We one time hired a guy without a sense of humor, and he's not here. So it's not like, oh, these are the things I want you all to aspire to be. Like, those are more like mission and vision and what we need to develop. To me, this is just a statement of how everybody here already is. Because you don't really train personality so much. And the company culture is not only a top-down thing, it emanates from everybody's personality structure. And I spend a lot of time thinking about, like, what are the key common denominators across all of us here? And to me, these are the key values that make us a unique place. You've all heard me speak about idiotic optimism. It's how we pop off the runner's block. It's our instinct. We feel that we can do something, we will do something. Even if we have no business winning this client, we have no business making this pitch. This, based on your experience, there seems no way we could achieve these results. It's just that instinctive reaction. It's the fantastical over the statistic. It's the matter of every outsized accomplishment that we've ever had. And if you look around the business world and you see success, there's always this element of unrealistic grandeur. And we pursue not what is rational or pragmatic or sensible, but what is great and spectacular. And it's only secondarily that the reality of what's achievable sets in. To me, idiotic optimism is like this instinctive reaction to a challenge. Is like, oh yeah, we could do it. And it's like, then afterwards, it's like, no, not really. Like that time when, and I'll say this quote from Voltaire. Optimism, I don't know who Voltaire is. I think he's the guy from Harry Potter. But optimism, optimism is the madness of insisting that all is well when we are miserable. And this is a little bit of a take on my own quote, which I say, nothing in my life has ever turned out as good as I expected it to turn out. And it's, in a way, that's like a little bit depressing. Like, nothing has ever been as good as I thought it would be. But on the other hand, it's like, I always think things are going to be great. So, like the time when Patrick wrote a book. Like, who the hell writes a book? It's like, the guy has a full-time job. I've been trying to write a book for 11 years. It's like never going to happen. And Patrick came to me a year and a half ago on our Monday morning meeting. He's like, I'm going to write a book. I was like, you're not going to write a book, dude. I didn't say it. I was like, okay, sure, yeah, go, write a book. And for every morning from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m., he wrote a book. And it's published, and it's a huge accomplishment. And like there's no reasonable chance of him writing a book, and it's not a normal pragmatic statistical outlook to be like, yeah, we're going to have a published book in 12 months.
I'm going to read a book, boss. I came to that Monday meeting, and I'm going to read a book.
Like the time when Ari thought he could build a marketing department. It was the stuff, what Ari laid out to me 6 months ago was unachievable. And it's not as good today as we walked out of that meeting, both of us like celebrating we thought it would be. It's just not. But it's coming together. It's more than any model would have possibly projected for the resources that we had at our disposal. And just a disclaimer. All of you, I'm going to mention all of you by name at some point in this presentation. All of you have many examples of manifesting these positive character traits and values. I'm just using specific examples, and don't be offended if there was like a better one I could have used, whatever. It's like when I asked my father-in-law to star in an AstraZeneca movie. When Danny signed a publicly traded enterprise from a kitchen table in a 500 square foot apartment, when we had no business signing a publicly traded company. When Simone traveled halfway around the globe to introduce himself to us. It's like, these are things that people who are idiotically optimistic do. And we see, you can't expect, like, you have no idea like what a good result is. So I oftentimes say that we tend to overestimate the negative impact of a failure, and we tend to underestimate the positive outcome of a success. Most failures, unless it's a decision that really tanks your business or your personal life, most bad decisions are cauterized. The negative impacts of those bad decisions they just sort of stop at some point. Yeah, you lost some money, you lost some time, but the impact of a good decision ripples outwards in unexpected ways every time. And that's to me, a good rational basis for conducting yourself and having this optimistic outlook. Number 2, intellectual honesty. It's integrity. It's like Ray Dalio says, being willing to pull all suspicious threads, being able to have these tough conversations. We're not afraid of what we don't know. We blame ourselves first and second and third. We can criticize ourselves in the face of success, all the more so in the face of failure. We're eternally discontent with ourselves, our performance. We can accept critical feedback because we believe it. There's a lot more we don't know than we know, even about the things we know. We admit it and act accordingly, not to our clients. We listen as if the person we're talking to has something worth hearing. We see this every day with how we interact with each other. It's honest, it's tough, there's uncomfortable discussions and conversations, but there's not a single person sitting here who isn't unbelievably good at accepting feedback. And it's an amazing environment when you can come to work every day with people who are like, tell me how to do my job better. We were successful with this client, but here's 3 things that we could have done better. And that's a real opportunity for growth. Like the time when Nechama called out Ben's attribution analysis. We spent a long time putting together a really good attribution analysis, but it wasn't perfect. It didn't necessarily show all of the results it was supposed to show. And we had that discussion, and it was uncomfortable. Like the time Nechama said she doesn't know. Like the time Nechama said she's not sure. Like the time Nechama just shrugged and walked away. But really like the time, and this was yesterday, where Avery, Roach, Patrick, and Nechama, they worked their butts off for 3 months on a huge client. The client was unbelievably difficult. They did a lot of things that derailed the account. We lost the client, and then the meeting was all 4 of them talking about what they each individually did wrong. And it was an unbelievable thing to witness. Jordan Peterson says, ideologies are substitutes for true knowledge. A simple-minded, I-know-it-all approach is no match for the complexity of existence. And I think that everybody here sort of has that orientation. We just don't know everything, even about our jobs, even about these platforms, even about what works, what doesn't work. We're very hesitant to take a learning and hold it in this esteem of ideology. This is how it's done. We approach every client with humility. We're not sure, we're not sure, we're not sure. We're going to test, we're going to learn. We're going to continue learning from each other. Positive energy. We're enthusiastic people. We celebrate each other's victories. We're not despondent wet rags. We don't mope, brood, sulk, despair, gloom, or grump. Sometimes. We're not curmudgeonly malcontents. Our office is a place of joy and uplift because it's comprised of joyful, positive, and uplifting souls. And that's self-explanatory, simple. Like the time when Greg took 80 clients and their dashboards himself, alone. Like, who the hell does that? Erica didn't assassinate Heidi. When Abby lost Ben, when Abby lost Ben, this is a serious thing. And if you remember, like, Abby's response was, "This is a huge loss for me, but we're going to figure out how to make this work, and I'm going to be okay, and we're going to use everybody's ingenuity and creativity to make this work." When Esty blew lights for fun away with a smile on her face, with unbelievable presentations, and again, it was a client where there was no reasonable chance to be able to deliver on time presentations of this depth and insight, and Esty did it with aplomb, she did it diligently, and she did it with her hallmark positivity. When Melissa said good morning to me. Like, really, I come to work every day, Melissa says good morning to me. It's a simple thing, but it makes my day. And it's the nicest thing. When Lucian taught us magics. Lucian was busy with a lot of different things, a lot of different responsibilities. We had this new expensive technology vendor. No one really knew how to use it. And Lucian stepped up to the plate and said, I'm going to host weekly meetings with the entire team, teaching them how to use this thing. And again, it was done with positivity, no complaints, no whining. Matt Harvey, the guy from Batman. I think the big thing is keeping positive energy in the clubhouse. The amount of time we spend in there and spend together carries over into what you do in the field. And I think there's no greater way to sort of encapsulate this idea of positive energy. What you do in the clubhouse, it translates into the field. How we conduct ourselves here in the office, it translates into our client campaigns. We're curious people. We enjoy learning new things. I think it's something true for everybody here. We take walks, naps, meditate. We used to do yoga. We want to share what we learn with others, and those we share with gravitate toward our magnetic force of knowledge. We admire those who have the discipline to make time to learn new things. We don't always have time to learn new things, but there's an attitude of admiration for new knowledge about all sorts of things. And this is true for those who even don't read books, like Ronnie, but also there's just a clear thirst, and he's a storehouse of interesting things. Like the time when Kelly sent her weekly update and every subsequent one. Some of you should really read these updates and Andrew's weekly updates. They're quite impressive. They're positive. They're filled with enthusiasm for learning new things. And it's just extremely inspirational to see for new people. And also just to take a moment to mention Kelly, Mikhail, Luca, Nina, Daniel, some of the newest members of our team here. This is your first DOLA, and hopefully there'll be many more. But what you guys have done and shown, whether it's over the last 4 days, over the last few weeks, is really impressive. And fundamentally, it's coming into work every day, excited to learn things that you don't know. When Andrew sent his weekly updates and every subsequent one. When I gave a second one to Andrew because I couldn't figure out which one to put in, but if you see Andrew's copy of Join or Die, there's 6 booklets worth of Post-it notes marking off key phrases, key ideas. I don't know if that was just to make Patrick like you. If it was, it worked. But again, it's an enthusiasm for new knowledge and an embracing of what you don't know. When Mikhail, who hails from France, challenged himself with more than what was asked of him in the initial interview presentation, and he continues to do so every single day. When Luca took a huge gamble on his own career and things that he was working on to join our ragtag team. And again, it shows not necessarily a risk-taking attitude, but just an excitement for being in an environment where you're going to be challenged and where you're going to allow your curiosity to flex and learn new things. When Daniel Hazan had an idea for an app, it was like an hour-long discussion of excitement of could this work? No, it's not going to work. Well, speak to this guy. Well, okay, well, maybe. It's like, wow. You have people who are excited to do new things, to learn new things. It's unbelievable. Richard Feynman said, study hard what interests you the most in the most undisciplined, irreverent, and original manner possible. And I think those 3 things really talk to curiosity, because it's not really formatted, it's not boundaried. It's something undisciplined and irreverent and original about expressing your curiosity, learning new things. And it's a great attribute, and I think it's something that everybody here has.
Who's Richard?
Richard Feynman is a Nobel Prize winning mathematician and physicist, I believe, right? He was a mathematician? Yeah, okay. Lastly, we have a sense of humor. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We laugh at each other. We mainly laugh at ourselves, and we strive to be the butt of our own jokes at least 50% of the time. And I think that sense of humor is important. To me, it is a key value, because if you could laugh when things are tough and when things are difficult and when things are overwhelming, and you could let it roll off your shoulders, and you could conduct yourself in a way that's not threatening. It's like, I don't take myself too seriously. I don't know that much. We're all here to learn from each other. It makes for an unbelievably positive, uplifting environment for everyone to be a part of. So that's an overview of the key values. You've all heard most of these before, but putting them on paper was a good exercise for me. And that's my presentation.